At the starting of the film, we see a 9-year-old young lady named Emma Grossman watching a feline being drowned in a cistern through her room's window. She shuts the blinds and continues her morning routine, displaying no mourning for the helpless feline. Emma lives with her bereaved father named David Grossman. She is a very meritorious student and an urban child. Anyway, she appears to have no human feelings. That day at breakfast, Emma expressed her desire to win a citizenship award in school to David. As they converse, Emma's auntie Angela shows up. She appraises David regarding another sitter she has arranged for Emma. It appears that Emma's past sitter experienced a shocking misadventure. As they talk, Emma calls attention to the deceased feline in the water. David takes the feline out of the water, however Emma appears to have no feelings about its demise. Then at her school, a wasp startles students as they study. The student falls back in dread, but Emma valiantly takes a glass and catches the wasp to let it fly out of the window. In the meantime, David meets a babysitter named Chloe. He is impressed with her portfolio of jobs, so he recruits her. Chloe seems to have a feeling for David. Back at school, Emma's schoolmate Katie is playing when she runs against Emma, who assists her with getting up. Their preceptor observes the situation and thinks that Emma is attempting to be sympathetic to win the citizenship award. That evening, Emma works on smiling before the mirror. The next day is award day. David raises up Emma in uniform and takes her to school. Every one of the guardians and students takes seat in the audience. When the educator declares that Milo is the winner of the citizenship award, Emma is awfully incensed. When David converses with Emma with regards to Milo's success, he says that she was the person who merited it and starts humiliating Milo. He begs mercy when David looks askance to Emma. In a little while, when nobody is observing, Emma takes Milo and leads him to a cliff. At that point, when Milo proposes returning, Emma strolls towards him and the screen turns black. Afterwards, when Milo's parents inquire whether she has seen him, she lies and states she hasn't seen him. Out of nowhere, two young ladies come running from some place shouting for help. Every one of the guardians hurry to see Milo has tumbled off the cliff and submerged in the sea. His dad leaves his drenched body, also has a go at giving him CPR, however Milo's soul has left. The next morning at breakfast, David asks Emma how she feels. Yet she totally disregards the reality of her companion passed away on the other day. Later, the new babysitter Chloe arrives at the house. That evening, David isn't in home. Emma describes Chloe in David's room taking a portion of David's medication. Later, as they watch flicks, Emma goes up against her with regards to the medication. She vows not to let David know if Chloe does what she needs. Emma then asks her to fetch her a frozen dessert. Chloe calls the young lady a bitch, however does what she demands. The next day is Milo's requiem. After the memorial event, everybody is shedding tears excluding Emma. David converses with Milo's guardians and discovers that the medal is gone. They surmise that it sank in the sea. All of a sudden, Emma starts to cry. Maybe she is pretending to be grieved before Milo's parents. At that point, when they return home, David is stressed over Emma's demeanor. When he folds Emma's clothing, we notice that Milo's medal is concealed underneath Emma's sleeping mattress. David glances through the photos of the award day and observes a few pictures of Emma frowning at Milo. He speculates that his demise has to do something with Emma. Soon thereafter, Emma's teacher, Mrs. Ellis, furthermore a cop, meets David to talk with regards to Milo's punishment. Mrs. Ellis guarantees that somebody has seen Emma with Milo in the cliff before his demise. Emma pays attention to their discussion from outside the door. She wittingly falls on a jar and harms herself to prevent them from talking. Seeing that Emma is injured, Mrs. Ellis and the officer leave. While dealing with Emma's injury, David inquires whether she was with Milo in the cliff, yet Emma declines. When he uncovers that Mrs. Ellis said she was, Emma gets irate and exclaims that Mrs. Ellis despises her. The next day, Chloe goes to their side house where David is working. He wants to know whether she can smoke, yet David inhibits, saying that the spot has a large number of combustible stuff. After that, Chloe takes Emma to the road to play with her scooter. While walking on the road, the two espies Mrs. Ellis' vehicle before Milo's home. He is conversing with Milo's mother. Chloe says that they are filing a case against Emma. He realizes that Emma did something to Milo. Anyway, the little young lady behaves as she doesn't have a clue what Chloe is discussing. When they return home, they proceed to the discussion. Chloe tells Emma that if the cops figure out what befell Milo, they will have Emma sit in an electric chair. This frightens Emma, yet she actually doesn't concede to doing anything. After that day, Chloe is searching for Emma around the house when he notices a wasp nest that had been in the roof is disappeared. At that point, we see Mrs. Ellis departing from Milo's house. As she drives, a wasp diverts her mind, which nearly leads to mishap. She proceeds to drive, and the camera shows the back seat where the wasp nest lies. Emma has placed the nest in the vehicle in an attempt to end her educator. Back at the house, Chloe chances upon Milo's award below Emma's mattress. He hangs it in a light in David's room so that Emma gets caught by David. David is in his washroom when Emma enters his room and finds the award. He gets it off the lamp and conceals it behind her, yet David sees. He takes her back to the room and approaches her about it. Emma lies and excogitates her tales about Milo bestowing the medal to her as they played. David goes for a spin to relax his mind. When he sees a vehicle pranked by the street, he calls Angela and asks her to find a therapist for Emma. David starts to experience difficulties about Emma and Milo. The next day, Emma goes up against Chloe regarding her putting the medal there. He is enraged. All of a sudden, David comes from the ground floor and asks Emma to accompany him. He takes her to Milo's abode to return the award to his mother. He is confounded yet grateful that she gets it back. She then illuminates them about Mrs. Ellis' expression she had in a car casualty because of the wasp. David is astonished. Emma starts to weep, proposing that Mrs. Ellis was her favorite preceptor. On the way of returning, Emma appears to have ignored Mrs. Ellis' demise. Furthermore, discusses baking cookies with Chloe. David is apprehensive by Emma's conduct. Later, David is working and he discovers that the wasp nest is gone. He gets skeptical about his little girl for Mrs. Ellis' passing. The next day is Emma's first meeting with her specialist, Dr. March. He and Emma have a long talk. After the meeting, the specialist lets David know that Emma is nothing but like some other ordinary youngsters. Emma even tricked the therapist. At that point, when the two return home, David comes across Chloe basking in the sun. He requests her to go to Emma. As Chloe and Emma chats, she lets the young girl know that David was checking out her enticingly. She further adds that she can be her stepmother. Incensed, Emma shouts at her to remain away from her father. That evening, Emma inquires David whether he prefers Chloe. David is befuddled. He uncovers about Chloe longing to be her stepmother. Anyway, David is late for a date, so he leaves without giving her a clarification. At some point, Chloe hears a sound as if she is staring at the television. He goes searching for Emma, yet can't find her any place. He takes a gander at the working place through the window and sees a shadow there. He goes there to look for her. At that point, when she gets into the room, the door gets closed. He attempts to open it, however, it is locked from outside. Abruptly, a fire begins spreading on the floor. Chloe finds Emma, watch her from the other side of the window. He attempts to hit her, breaking the glass, yet the fire kills her ultimately. David returns and finds the firemen and paramedics in his home. They appraise him regarding Chloe's demise. Emma has been taken to an official's home. He at last reaches Emma and embraces her. That evening, David goes to Emma's room. He places himself before her and affectionately inquires if she injured Milo. He guarantees her that he will do anything for her. Now Emma has to come clean with him. Emma at last concedes that he shot Milo from the precipice. He concocts a story by saying that he planned to complain against her for taking his medal. He then nonchalantly states that she will not repeat the event. David is frightened. He then at that point gets some information about Mrs. Levia, Emma's pet sitter. He unveils that she pushed her down the stairs since Mrs. Levia held her hand. He then tells that Levia ought to have been more cautious. Emma gets intensely offensive as she talks. Later, when asked about what she did to Chloe, she exclaims at David and reproaches Chloe for attempting to be her stepmother. David is restless and unsettled. The next morning, the town sheriff calls David and says he needs to meet Emma. Anyway, David dissimulates about her being ill. He then takes her to their far-flung lake house. Their caretaker greets them. Thereafter, the sheriff calls David again to let him know that the fire was set intentionally by somebody. However, they don't have the clear idea who. Seeing that his daughter may be in trouble, he is angst. David has a weapon with him at the house. He takes a look at it, sometimes thinking if he can use it to resolve the circumstance. The next day, as David is sleeping, Emma enters his room and kisses him. He shuts every one of the windows and turns all the gas knobs on in an endeavor to kill him. Emma then walks by the lake and lingers there. Suddenly, David awakens and smells the gas pervading the air in the house. He frantically opens the window and turns the ovens off. He espies Emma outside beside the lake. and understands that she has attempted to kill him. David approaches her and asks her for what good reason she did that. Emma answers that if something befalls him, she will go live with her auntie Angela, who really loves her. David grabs her hand and serenely takes her into the house. After that, we see David crush his drugs. Later, he serves Emma a cup of hot chocolate. They both had the beverage together and David puts her to sleep. When he returns to his room, he calls Angela and tells her beginning and end regarding Emma's offense. However, she doesn't trust him. He is sorry to Angela and ambiguously tells her that he has no other choices. It appears that David had mixed drugs in Emma's hot chocolate in order to sedate her with the goal that she doesn't kill any more individuals. However, he conceals it from Angela. That night, when he is sleeping, Emma goes into his room. He grabs a weapon and targets it at himself. He shoots, yet misses. The bullet hits the pillow next to David. The sound awakens him and he asks her how she is still alive. Emma answers that she had exchanged her hot chocolate with David's. Learning that she was going to kill him, David jumps to grab the firearm from her hand. Emma promptly takes his mobile and calls 911. He then at that point flees to the washroom as David pursues her with the aim to kill her. Emma tells the cops that her dad is intending to kill her. David breaks open the privy door and focuses his weapon at Emma. Then and there the housekeeper shows up behind him with his rifle. At that point, when David is going to shoot Emma, he shoots him instead. Emma looks at her janitor, goes to the floor and meets his demise. The police arrived at the next morning and Angela shows up at the spot. She says Emma that her father was sick. The movie concludes as we see Emma embrace Angela and gives a malicious smile with a cold, ruthless look all over her visage. Well, that's all for today. Thank you.